I think A Tale of Our Time is a continuation of humanity's fundamental love for and need to tell stories. It's something we've been doing forever, and it's something we continue to do into the present.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tales of Our Times. This is a show where we discuss the stories that move us, what makes them so meaningful, and why others could or should find meaning in them as well. This is not a spoiler-free show, so bear that in mind as you continue to listen. We tackle books, movies, podcasts, and more. Where there's a story, there's a reason to read. I'm your host, Amanda Stevens, and joining me today is my friend and an avid reader, I think, Janet Snow.
Hello, it's nice to be here with you all today.
Was that correct? You pulled a face. Was that not correct? Do you no longer associate yourself as an avid reader?
Oh no, I do. I just I was seeing where you were going with it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's okay. No, here. You know what? Let me pass the baton. Is there anything you would like to say to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Janet Snow. I have been living here in Taiwan for a year and a half. I keep thinking it's 2 years because I'm in the second year of my job. Mm-hmm. I've been living in Taiwan for a year and a half now, and I really do enjoy like books and reading and just kind of literary space.
Right. Okay. I just remember that around the time that I was like, I should really invite you on the show was when you were describing all the books you read as a kid. Having like a librarian for a mom, I think is what you said. And I was like, wow, you've really read a lot. I should get this girl in here to talk about stories.
Yeah. No, my mom was my elementary school librarian, which is like scholastic book fair nepotism. I think is kind of what it boiled down to.
You had access to every book.
A little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in the like school library every day.
I
for
imagine,
an hour after
a
school,
long time.
And I maybe had a slight bit of unfair influence in what new titles we selected.
I won't tell your school. I don't even know where they are.
My mom's retired. It's fine.
All right. Everyone's free of consequence. But to that point, we are discussing a book today. What book have you brought for us to talk about today?
Today I have brought a book for us called The Thief by Megan Whalen Turner.
Right. A very unassuming name, but I remember you said something about it that kind of like struck me, that this was, first of all, recommended to you by a friend, and something that after you read it, you felt like, I believe you said verbatim, was required reading to understand your friend.
Yes. So this book is an absolute favorite of one of my very, very good friends that I met in college and university. And for a long time, whenever we would talk about books and stuff, there are just different archetypes and different storylines that she kept coming back to. And we have pretty similar tastes anyway. So she, for a while, was like, read this. If you can get a hold of a copy, you should.
She's been pushing this on you for a little while.
Pushing is maybe a bit aggressive. More
okay.
Dropping subtle hints.
Right. And now that you have finished it.
She was right. It's very good.
Yeah. Okay. I'm excited.
But yeah, it was this very cool experience of reading a book that like I know is very beloved to one of my friends. And part of it is just getting to enjoy the story itself. It's a very kind of like classic good kids fantasy. It was like, I think it was published 1996, I want to say. The kind of stuff that you maybe grew up like when you're in your school's library, like the gems that you find kind of books.
Yeah.
But it was also really cool to see the way like the things that my friend finds really interesting and the things that she enjoys in stories and talks about start to kind of fall better into place.
You kind of start getting a sense of like how this book might have influenced other things that you guys have talked about later.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Well, I'm excited to like circle back to this, but I think something that would better inform our conversation is getting through a summary of this book. Is there anything you think we need to know about the book before we do that?
I'm allowed to spoil, yes.
Oh, I will push you for spoilers. Okay. So please do. There was a spoiler warning. I can officially, this is the warning for everybody out there. because I'm now asking Janet, can you give us a summary of the thief?
So the book starts with this character called Jin, who he has been arrested for bragging about his thieving exploits from I think it's like the City Tavern or something. So the story starts out like he's in this jail cell. He's been in there for a couple months. He's having a terrible time.
Oh, okay.
And his fate kind of changes when the king's magus comes to recruit him for this kind of secret mission, this journey they need to go on, but he will not tell them what they're looking for. Just, you're our group's hired thief.
Okay.
Don't ask questions. You won't have to be in jail, which is nice.
Yeah.
And follow along with me and my 2 apprentices and one of the castle guards, I believe, like somebody from the army, as we go on this journey. So they set out. It's high fantasy, so you've got a couple of different kingdoms. They're kind of, they're all up at each other's throats. It's a very tense time. And the hope is that whatever it is that they are trying to steal will give this kingdom the advantage.
Yeah. Over the other kingdoms.
But of course you've got
that's why it has to be top secret.
Yeah, and you've got to sneak over a couple of borders into those other kingdoms.
Okay.
And like,
yeah.
all of that good kind of like fantasy camp very sneakily.
Okay, yeah. Where does it go from there?
They have to go find this thing. They find out it's called ooh, I'm also running into fantasy name pronunciation. I think it's Hamayathe's gift.
We're going to call it maybe the gift is the better one.
Yeah, we'll just call it the gift.
I'll ask you, Megan, if you're ever listening to this, write in and tell us how we're supposed to say this.
The gift. But to get to it, you got to cross like 2 hostile countries and then go to this old like volcanic field. And it's this very, very booby-trapped ancient temple of the gods.
Sick. Wait, can I ask a question?
Yes.
When they set out, did everybody actually know what they were looking for?
So the magus definitely knew. He was on assignment. It has been a little bit since I've read it. I think over time, more people in the party become aware.
They kind of start figuring it out as you get closer. But the one who's definitely been clued in the whole time is the magus, who was like, everyone come with me, we're going to go grab the gift.
Yeah. The magus is definitely included, and it is worth noting the main character has also definitely known the whole time, but that's a plot twist.
Oh, that's fun. Okay, so so then back. So they have to go through this super ancient temple that is mega booby trapped, Indiana Jones style. It's a temple to the gods. How do they get through that?
In classic, we took you out of jail to do a job for us. They make Jen go in.
Yeah, of course.
Alone.
Yeah,
and it's weird because it's kind of like the statues of the gods are talking really and personally to you and only you kind of stuff. And, he's able to get a hold of this little stone. Not quite like Philosopher's Stone territory, but very much like kind of similar.
Something kind of like that. Is the stone the gift or is this something else?
Yeah, the stone's.
Okay, so this is the gift.
It's like a very unassuming looking rock. But kind of one of those, like, once you've touched it, you kind of know.
Yeah.
And then, but of course, then they get out. They have to get it back.
Yeah.
And that's where some fun things like a little betrayal comes in and like, oh, who has the gift and stuff like that.
Oh, like what? Because I'm going to ask you, how does it end? And I want to know.
Okay, so as they're trying to take this back again across enemy territory,
to get back into who wants it in the first place,
which is the
empire.
king, the Magus' king, basically. Yeah. They get ambushed, they got ratted out, and for a minute they think they've lost the stone, but then Jen is able to kind of grab it back.
He's a very good thief.
He is a very good thief.
When he's not running his mouth about being a very good thief, he is actually
he's
just
actually
a very good thief. Yeah,
and it's like he's also like he's a super fun character in a lot of ways. It's one of those, you can't have that much camping in a story if the characters are not relatively compelling. You can't do it. And he manages to get it back and disappear. But at the can I go ahead and spoil the end?
Yeah, I want you to. I want to know what happens. Spoil the end.
At the end, he ends up, he gets injured, but ends up where he needs to go. He ends up in his bedroom, his actual real original bedroom, in the castle of the queen of one of the other kingdoms that they had been sneaking through that whole time, and he had stolen it for his monarch instead.
Oh, so he's been like a deep cover, double triple agent.
Yes, and it's one of those things you read it back a second time and it like all
and everything makes sense.
But when you're reading it the first time, you definitely think maybe he's been like Gen is short for Eugenides, which is like he was named after like the god of thieves, and you're like, okay, I think this guy's maybe
Can you say that again, like very slowly into the microphone? Eugenides. Okay, just double checking because I thought I heard something else at the beginning.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, who's the god of
thieves? He's named after the god of thieves and is very, very good at stealing.
Wow.
And critically got himself arrested on purpose. Like the whole
everything was a part of the plan.
Was a part of the plan.
Wow.
And so and again, he's such a fun character. He's sneaky. He's like the banter is really, really good. Like wears like a cool earring. Like
yeah, he's got everything. He's got everything you want out of a thief in a book, especially from like the 90s, 2000s. I'm literally thinking of like the video game just called Thief, which is just like, I think this is exactly like the picture you're painting of like, or go to like Prince of Persia or any of these other guys that are like, I'm a thief. I have an earring. I have cool clothes. I'm quippy. I'm fast. I have the appropriate amount of facial hair.
He is a younger character because we are still in children's literature. So he'd be like a couple years younger than that, but like in terms of
I have no facial hair yet, but I probably will grow some. I'm gonna have the appropriate amount eventually.
No, just like a super fun just a super fun character archetype and just fits it very well.
Yeah, it sounds exactly like that, like really fitting the meaning of archetype, which if you guys aren't sure what that is out there, an archetype is kind of like a prototypical, kind of like what we've been dancing around the drain of here, where what do you think of when you hear X? Like, what do you think of when you hear the good king or Prince Charming? So he's like the perfect example of the thief.
It is also the name of the book. Like he got ahead of the trend, I think.
So let's go from here into what makes this book so meaningful to you. Because I think we covered pretty thoroughly like what your experience with this book was, like why you read it the first time. So what makes it so meaningful to you?
Again, some of it is the ability to form a deeper connection with a friend. Like the idea of like friendship required reading like did kind of enter the vernacular around the time when I read this. Again, not a if you don't read this book you can't be my friend sort of thing, but in a if you want to understand why I feel as strongly as I do about a lot of the things I read more currently, or about the way I tend to lean creatively, stuff like that, read blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And some of it is also just kind of the fact that it kind of gave license and gave excuse to engage with that nostalgia for the kinds of books I really enjoyed growing up. And it was really an interesting conversation my friend and I had after I read it.
When did you read this book?
I for sure definitely read this book a little over a year ago. But I have a running mental debate on if I had read some or all of it as like a much, much younger kid, because the cover is incredibly familiar. I've definitely seen it before. And there were certain plot elements that
you were kind of like, I kind of remember that.
Yeah. But obviously not enough to have messed up any of the plot twists and stuff in the story. And another way sometimes my friends and I will talk about these stories that we read like in childhood that were really formative, but you don't always remember all of the details, right?
Yeah.
I was kind of going like into the soup, like these ingredients that you put in really, really early that kind of get like boiled down and still kind of have this really, really long running presence in your life, the way you see the world, but you can't always necessarily point and say, I know it was this exact thing. But it kind of creates the tapestry
for who you become or that full thing. I really like that idea of like friendship required reading as you defined it, right? Not a you really truly must read this, but the idea of like to better understand somebody, you should engage with this. I think that is like such a fun and interesting word for it, because I definitely have books like myself where I would be like, oh yeah, I can tell you exactly like 2 or 3 where this deeply influenced me when I was a kid. And like, if you were to read it now, you would see it played out in like everything creative that I have like made like in some way. And then I know reading some books of that for my friends or even my parents who were like, we love these books. So moving from there, what meaning do you think other people could find in this book? Or is it kind of getting back to what you said? I almost wonder, is it related to like giving yourself license to enjoy these like tropier parts of fantasy?
Some of it is, I think, that like license to enjoy, and also that encouragement to kind of look at your media roots a little bit. But also I think in terms of actual meaning from the book, I think that a lot of the value of reading a book like this or this book is that kind of ability to look at those kinds of stories and to like go back to that emotional landscape of reading these things when you were younger and seeing what things still hold up, you know, and what things still like just kind of give you that sense of delight again.
Talking to you about this book, it reminds me of books that I get recommended, or a lot of like TV shows that people will recommend me are things that like, it has to be very twisty and edgy. And sometimes what I actually want is something that gets me back to the tropes that were the original reason I gravitated towards that genre in the first place. Right? Getting back to those roots of like what tropes that I still really enjoy and like that I enjoy seeing and that influence these more complicated media, but I'm not here to read somebody try to reinvent that wheel. Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
Does that like...
Yeah. No, so some of this is getting into like, there's something so nice about reading a book where it has those tropes to an extent, but it's also truly it's a book. It is very fun to have those hit as you read kind of things, but to just watch a well-developed character go through an adventure like that and like it's just really narratively tight in that sense. It just it hits like the way it's supposed to. And sometimes I kind of find that there is that kind of like reinventing the wheel going on where it's, I don't want to say things try to be too different because that's like really uncharitable to newer things.
It is true.
But I do definitely see some of the things where
perhaps it is harmed because it didn't want to commit to the trope.
Yeah. There's something about watching something done well versus like done by way of like a trick shot almost.
Right. You saying that reminds me of like, I think I would just rather watch something done well than something done in a new way. And I think sometimes we maybe get confused. We, the cultural everybody, we get confused between like using the word trope or like archetype. Just because something is a trope doesn't mean that it is bad. They can be interesting and engaging and fun to read or unexpected without being something that you've never seen before, while playing very much into like these expected roles we have of people. Like there's sort of a delight in finding that and finding someone or something that like fits that so perfectly and is just very well written and unafraid to kind of live in that space and play in that space. So, well, unfortunately, we are out of time, but if you could give The Thief a one-phrase subtitle of your very own, what would that be?
My brain is going, there's a thief. What more do you want?
It is kind of what we said. Yeah. The Thief. What you expect and want. But it's not what you expect.
What you expect and what you don't.
Expected in surprising ways.
I think that would work well.
Is that good? I'm trying to play off of everything we've said so far because it is tropey, but also it has such a good plot twist.
Yeah, because I think that's the thing with tropes. It's all the other stuff you build up to support the trope that means it's going to land or not.
Yeah,
I think is what it is, and that I think is what kind of makes this book work really well. Is it has like a huge amount of heart and it's well executed. So yeah, The Thief, expected in surprising ways.
Okay, well, Janet, thank you for coming on the show. I've had so much fun talking about this. And to all of you listeners out there, this has been Tales of Our Time on Radio Taiwan International. I was your host, Amanda Stevens, with my guest, Janet Snow. And today we were discussing the book, The Thief, Expected in Surprising Ways, a tale of our time. We'll see you next time.